Hello and welcome back to the GCN News Show, which this week comes to you from Porto-Vecchio on the island of Corsica, which is where the Tour de France is going to start this coming Saturday, the 29th of June. Now we're going to start with racing news, which this week centres around national championships, because whilst the Australian, New Zealand, American and Japanese national championships have already taken place earlier on in the season, the majority of countries hold theirs the weekend before the Tour de France commences. We haven't got time to go through every single winner of every single race, but we have picked out our highlights. Now we'll start with three riders who are going to be going for the green jersey at this year's Tour de France. Mark Cavendish, Andre Greipel and Peter Sagan will, for at least the first stage of the race, be in their respective national colours of Britain, Germany and Slovakia. Cav's win is worth special mention because he only had to outsprint two riders to get his victory, Ian Stannard and David Miller. It's the first time that I can remember him sprinting from such a small group to victory. Normally, of course, we see him sprinting from a big bunch. And whilst we're on the subject of Cavendish, we're running a competition on our Facebook page to win a signed red jersey from the Giro d'Italia. So head over there now if you want a chance of winning. And before we finish with Mark Cavendish, we caught up with him in London the day after his National Championships victory, where he was launching his own brand.
It's a massive thing, you know, to wear a jersey represents anything for you. Is a big thing, you know. But I'm incredibly patriotic. I'm proud to always pull on the GB national jersey. So to wear a jersey represents champion of Great Britain for a year, to take it to the Tour de France next week. It's a big thing. It's something that you want to do proud. When you wear a jersey, represent your country, especially the way British cycling is growing, the way British cycling now feed country in the sport of cycling. You know, I want to do the jersey justice, do it proud.
Of the World Tour teams, it was arguably Radio Shack who were the most successful in bringing home their national colours, with Fabian Cancellara taking what was probably his 30th ever Swiss Time Trial Championships, Bob Jungels taking back the Luxembourg Road and Time Trial titles, Stijn de Volder taking a fine solo victory in Belgium, and Robert Kieslowski winning in Croatia. However, interestingly, none of those riders will be representing Radio Shack at the upcoming Tour de France. A special tip of the hat must go to Matt Bramier of Champion Systems, who for the fourth year in succession won the Irish road race title. In France, it was Arthur Vigeot who took over from his teammate at Francis de Jeux, Nasser Bouhanni, as the French national champion, and in doing so also earned his place in that team for the upcoming Tour de France, where surely all of the national public's eyes will be on him in that French tricolour jersey. Over in Italy, it was a relative surprise victory for Ivan Santaromita of the BMC team, but what wasn't a surprise was to see Movistar on top of the podium again in Spain, this time in the form of Jesus Herrada. Other newly crowned national champions due to take part in the upcoming Tour de France include Michael Schaar of Switzerland and Team BMC, Ryan Tarame of Estonia and Cofidis, Johnny Hogeland of Vacansoleil in the Netherlands, and finally Michał Kwiatkowski of Poland and Omega Pharma. Over to the women's events now, and it was Lizzie Armitstead of Doemens Bols who took a solo victory at the British National Championships. Lucinda Brand won the Dutch National Championships ahead of her Rabobank teammate Marianne Vos, and it was another of their teammates, Liesbeth de Vogt, who prevailed in Belgium. Tritzi Vorak of Specialized Lululemon won the German national title, whilst over in Italy it was Dalia Muccioli who took a closely fought race. With just a few days to go now until the start of the Tour de France, all of the teams have announced their 9-man rosters for the race. There's a lot of big names taking part, as you can imagine, but there's also a few big names who won't be taking part. Team BMC announced their lineup last week. It includes Cadel Evans and TJ Van Garderen, who will be spearheading their general classification hopes. It also includes current world champion Philippe Gilbert, but they have omitted Thor Hushovd, who won the Norwegian National Championships on Sunday, albeit a couple of days after they announced their team, and Matthias Frank, the Swiss rider who performed so strongly in his home race just a couple of weeks ago. He has also been omitted from the squad. Pre-race favourites Chris Froome and Alberto Contador now know who will be supporting their bids for victory in this 100th edition of the race. Sky Pro Cycling's lineup looks very similar to that of the Criterium de Dauphiné from a few weeks ago, with the only addition being Sipsov, who crashed out of last year's race in the very first week. However, Contador's Saxo Tinkoff team also looks very strong, with Michael Rogers, Roman Kreuziger, Nicholas Roach and Jesus Hernandez among those who will be supporting his bids in the high mountains. Danny van Poppel of Vacansoleil will become the youngest rider in decades to take the start line of the Tour de France at just under 20 years of age. He's the son of the legendary Dutch sprinter John-Paul van Poppel, who will be the director sportif for the team, and he's also joined in the squad by his brother, Boy. This week, unfortunately, we also have to report that the Escatel soigneur Rufino Maguire tragically died last week after being involved in an accident whilst driving the team bus to the National Championships. A minute's silence was held before that National Championships event, and we'd also like to offer our own condolences to his family and his team. 1997 Tour de France champion Jan Ullrich has in recent days admitted to doping during his career. It won't come as a great surprise to those within the sport of cycling, with many of that generation either testing positive at the time or subsequently admitting to cheating. Ullrich was almost single-handedly responsible for the rise and fall in popularity of the sport of cycling in his home country of Germany. He said he felt like he was levelling the playing field, that he wasn't actually cheating. He said he didn't take EPO, only blood transfusions. It comes 6 months after arch rival Lance Armstrong also came clean. On a more positive note, MacAskill, the trials rider, has released his latest film. We watched it en masse at the GCN offices last week, and it's a must-see even for non-cyclists. You can check out a preview of it just here. Team Blanco are no longer, but don't despair, it's because they've now become Team Belkin, and they will be from this year's Tour de France and for a further 3 years. Team trucks and team cars were spotted with the new colours driving down towards Corsica for the Tour de France, and later on the team itself gave a press conference where they talked about the new sponsor and also released their new kit. What are your first impressions of it? Give us your comments in the section down below. On to tech news now, and this week we're featuring Pinarello, who for the second time in as many months have released a new time trial bike. This time it's called the Sibilo, and it will debut at this year's Tour de France with Alejandro Valverde of Movistar amongst others using the new machine. And we'll leave you as ever with Tweet of the Week, which this time comes from David Miller of Garmin Sharp, who the day after his national championships said this: "For those out there who understand watts, etc., yesterday I had a normalised power of 371 watts for 4.5 hours. Nationals equals headbanging." His team manager Jonathan Vaughters also tweeted during the national championships itself, saying, "Almost guaranteed at Millermine wins today, mainly because we're having a quarrel and he needs something to tell me to shove it up my..." Anybody who knows the full story behind that quarrel, we would love to hear from you. Anyway, that's it from this week's news show. We'll be back at the same time next week, still from the island of Corsica, bringing you plenty of news and content from the first few stages of the Tour de France.